Hey guys, Lizardlea here for day 4 of the Stonehenge Bookmark. So that's the progress from day 3. Um, I don't have work today, and so I think I can finish this today. um, yeah, I feel bad that it's taking me this long to work on this, because this thing is tiny, but, you know, I've mostly been doing it on days where I don't have much time to stitch. So it makes sense that, you know, this is only like 3 hours of work. um, Although my allergies are still acting up a little bit today, I feel much better. I can definitely stitch. I've had so many people before ask me like, "Oh, it's not allergies. You're sick." No, I'm not. Like, I don't know if it's because I've had allergies my entire life and I've had asthma, so I have a weak immune system, so I get sick a lot. I can tell the difference between my allergies and when I'm sick, and mostly that difference is my allergies don't make my asthma act up, and my allergies tend to stay with my nose. Like, I may sound like my throat is sore, but that's mostly because I sneezed a lot. If I'm sick, my throat is usually the first thing that starts to hurt, not my nose. So, and then usually when I'm sick, if it gets bad enough, my asthma starts to act up. And when I say act up, I don't necessarily mean like I have to use my emergency inhaler immediately, but that like I can feel that it's harder for me to breathe. I can hear a wheeze. You know, most other people won't be able to, but a doctor, you know, with a stethoscope, they'd be able to hear it. So that type of thing. Because when I breathe like this, I'm kind of forcing out that wheeze. It's not quite natural. Like a natural wheeze, you would hear it if I was doing this. But you can't hear anything. But if I go, that's forcing now. I mean, that's what a wheeze tends to sound like, for anyone that's curious. So, you know, the wheezes you hear on movies and TV aren't always that realistic, but, you know. I think I actually, last time, I used the needle that I pulled out for Chinese Phoenix because it's smaller, and I did. I didn't use the Stonehenge needle, and I think I'm going to continue not using it because it's really big, and this is already like 14 count, so it just makes the holes even bigger, and it bothers me, so I'm not going to be using this needle for anyone that's curious. I'm using the size 24 needle, I believe it was, that I used for Chinese Phoenix. Oh, I apologize that I didn't get any stitching done yesterday. I felt horrible in the morning. I went to work, and I started to feel better about like half an hour in, so it was just allergies. And then, you know, I finished that off. I got home. I printed out some papers for my mom, and then we left to go to dinner, and we didn't get home until after 9. I think it was like 9:16, so there was no time for me to stitch. But there is today. And I think the reason Tessa hasn't been sleeping in my room at night is my room is so much colder than everywhere else, and she wants to be a bit warmer when she sleeps. Because as soon as I wake up, she wants in the room with me again. So, maybe, you know, when I'm up and moving around, I warm the place up a little bit. I don't know, but it makes me sad. I'll be in bed for like, you know, 30 minutes to an hour, and that's when Tessa starts to whine to be let out. I've said it before, I have a very hard time relaxing, so it usually takes me about an hour to fall asleep. So she makes me almost lose like nearly 2 hours of sleep every night. Okay, I can blame her for 1 hour. I can't blame her for the first, that's my fault. But the second is her fault. Once I get out of bed, like, it wakes me right up. I can't just lay back and just go right back to where I was. Because I'm like, ugh, I'm awake now. Okay, so I've done enough talking. I'm going to go stitch now. Alright, so in my last video, or whichever day it was, I don't even remember at this point, but I had a few people comment saying they'd like to hear me talk instead of having the music, so I'm gonna do my best. This is kind of weird, like I'm looking at the webcam, but you can't see me, you can only hear me. It's just weird. I'm recording this after I've already finished it
from the title, you'll know I have completed it. What the heck am I doing? Oh, I remember this. Okay, I duplicated an entire row on accident, and it's that one I'm undoing right now. I have to undo all of it to a certain point where I had to skip that stitch right there. So, you know, I don't think that was the first mistake I've made, but there you go. I messed that one up. But I caught it because I was counting and I was like, well, this isn't right. You know, these two stitches aren't supposed to be touching. And if I'd kept that extra row, they would have been. So, oh my gosh. Every time it goes blurry, it drives me nuts. That's why every once in a while you see my fingers pop up on the on top of the fabric or the pattern or whatever you want to call it, right there, because I'm trying to get it to focus. It likes to focus on my fingernails, but not so much on what's, you know, directly in front of it. But, you know, whatever. You gotta do what you gotta do. For the most part, I think I filmed a lot of this the right way, but some of it was filmed upside down. I think this was filmed upside down right here, or I flipped it on accident. I might have to edit it. I don't know. Okay, no. Okay, this is the right way. But I was originally stitching it upside down. So that's why my hand is popping up from the bottom right instead of the bottom left. Or top right, whatever. The right, basically. Because that's my left hand. It's not my right hand. Seriously. I don't know if I'm supposed to just talk about, like, anything or about the video that you're watching, because like this is new for me. You guys will have to let me know if this is good or if I need to just talk about random things like what I would normally talk about at the end of my video, which is totally randomness that has nothing to do with what you're seeing. I don't know. Well, my goodness, my nephew's screaming. That's totally relevant, right? Seriously, I have no idea what to talk about, and it's only been 3 minutes. I'm already, like, I feel like I'm, like, being pressured to talk really quickly because the video is going by so fast. Oh my goodness. Okay. Normally, when I edit these, I don't watch every single second, and now I am, and it's actually really cool. I like seeing it, you know, the stitch by stitch. I love seeing anybody's work in progress pictures, so it's really cool to see it, you know, coming to life in front of me. Wow, he's not a happy camper. So how many of you guys have been to Stonehenge? It was pretty cool. The only thing I didn't really care too much for was there were a ton of people, and you can't get very close, which I'm totally okay with. I understand why they don't want you to get really close, but it was really crowded, but they made up for it by having like the most delicious ice cream ever. Okay, no joke. That's probably the best ice cream I've had. I think the only place that beats it is Little America, and we would go. I don't know if it's in other places or if it was only near Yellowstone National Park. It burned down a couple of years ago, and I guess they haven't opened it back up, or they never will or something. But you would get like a huge ice cream cone for like 50 cents. and it wasn't like 10 years ago. It was, you know, like 5 years ago. They were still doing it for like 50 cents. So it tasted delicious, and then it was super cheap. You can't say no to that. Oh, okay. That's one of the things I can talk about. When you watch me doing these, anytime I do something that is not a full, complete stitch, I have changed the pattern because the pattern provided only had full stitches. It didn't have quarter stitches or 3/4 stitches. That was all me. Hey, baby, you gonna come help me talk about the video? Huh? I said Mimi. Yeah, I'm a dork, huh? I did my best to look at the outline, you know, where the outline was going to go, and base my stitches on that. Like right there, you know, I just did a half stitch, or no, a 1/4 stitch. Sorry, it goes way too quickly. Oh my gosh. I know, baby. And on the final pattern that they provided, some of them look fine, but others, you know, that the outline goes through a dark gray stitch and it just looks weird. You know, like I'm all for staying in between the lines, coloring between the lines. And yeah, you know, some of these 3/4 stitches and quarter stitches aren't easy, especially like that yellow one I just did that was a 3/4 stitch. It's not easy to go back with that other color and bring it through the middle without getting it through that previous thread, but you know, you do what you can. If you saw what I just did a second ago, where I would do the bottom stitch, skip a whole one, bottom stitch, skip a whole one, that's because I want to end on a certain side, and on the video I wanted to end on the left so I didn't have to jump as far with my thread. So far I've never noticed it looking weird, so you know, I don't know, the way I do it doesn't seem to be a problem. It doesn't come out looking like I didn't do them in order, you know. Gosh, it looks like I go so fast. Oh man, this is crazy. And I just don't know what to talk about. Like, I have no idea. I'm not good at this, you guys. Maybe the more I do it, the better I'll get, and then it'll be great. Tessa's tail is smacking me. So if I start giggling out of nowhere, it's because she's tickling me. I'm extremely ticklish, by the way, so it's not hard to do that. I don't know what to talk about. Oh, look, I'm yawning. What a surprise, right? Didn't see that one coming, I bet. So yeah, I've been watching Flashpoint, and I watched the first 2 episodes of The Man in the High Castle. I love Flashpoint. This is my second time watching it, so obviously I highly recommend it. And then The Man in the High Castle, I don't know if they have another one up yet or not. There might be a 3rd episode ready, and if there is, I'll totally watch that later. No, it's not up yet, but it's really interesting. You know, you get attached to the characters, and then, you know, you learn this about them or that, and it makes you completely change how you feel about them. And I think that's really interesting because, you know, a lot of movies and shows like to portray it like the world is black and white, but in reality it's all shades of gray. Hi, baby. Yeah, you're gray, aren't you? Oh, okay, talking about gray. So originally when we got Tessa, we were debating on naming her Contessa Pearl or Gray Pearl. And I am embarrassed to say I was on the Gray Pearl side. Looking back, I'm so glad Contessa Pearl won because I much prefer that name. It's gorgeous. I love the name Contessa. And then I love Contessa Pearl together. But the thing was, we had Graybeard, which is totally a pirate's name, right? But we couldn't decide if Contessa Pearl or Gray Pearl was better and, you know, sounded more piratey. So yeah, Gray Pearl works with frickin' Pirates of the Caribbean with the Black Pearl, but I think, yeah, there were 5 of us. 3 voted for Contessa Pearl, and 2 of us voted for Gray Pearl, and clearly the better name won. I'm so glad Gray Pearl is not her name. Although you are the most beautiful shade of gray, Contessa. Yes, you are. Yes. Yeah, so, you know, if anybody's ever been curious about Tessa's name, we wanted it to be, you know, pirate-esque, because Graybeard was definitely a pirate's name. Oh, the other show I watched the first episode of, which is the only episode they have right now, was Heistin. It's actually really interesting, and I hope they get some more episodes of it. I think it's an Amazon original, or there's like 6 right now where they're saying, you know, go vote for the one you want to see more of. And I read the summaries for all of them, and the only one that I thought sounded interesting was Heistin. So it says, Heiston Liggets, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, is a kind and curious 19-year-old struggling to find his place in a world that doesn't quite understand. To help him cope, Heiston imagines a constantly changing roster of celebrity friends who provide him with comfort and advice, much to the concern of his bewildered but empathetic extended family. So maybe it sounds weird. I don't know. It sounded interesting to me because I was like, celebrity friends? Like, is this like our reality celebrities or his reality celebrities? I am happy to say it is our reality celebrities. Shaquille O'Neal was in the episode. Flea from, is it the Red Hot Chili Peppers? I think that's what he's from. I could be wrong. He's from a band. I'm horrible at remembering the names of bandmates, unless they're like Bon Jovi or Garth Brooks, where that is their band name. But he's a really adorable kid, and it's weird that a 23-year-old is calling what is supposed to be a 19-year-old character adorable, but he totally is. Like, you know, they try to send him to an insane institute, and he's talking to Flea and Shaq, and it's hilarious. So, if you guys have Amazon Prime, you should totally check that out. I think it's funny. I think it's worth the watch. Yeah, I yawned, Tess. Don't stare at me like that. You see, this is weird. Like, I can tell you that Tess is looking at me, but I have no proof because you can't see it. You can only trust that I'm telling you the truth. Gosh. I mean, she's just sitting here on my desk right in front of me, purring and whapping me with her tail. Very, very lightly, though. I will say that. It's not hurting me or anything, although I don't think she's ever whipped her tail enough that it actually hurt me. I've had a lot of dogs do that, but never a cat. I don't know what to talk about. Oh my goodness, I'm only almost 13 minutes in. I'm not good at this. I have no idea, and I feel like I'm being pressured. Like, it's going by so fast. Oh my god, you guys, it's going by so fast. And I stopped. Okay, I'm going again. Oh, that's one of the things I was going to talk about. So, Stonehenge was really cool, but when we were in, I think it was Ireland, we went to Dromebeg, and it's extremely similar to Stonehenge, but it is on a smaller scale. The rocks were short enough to the point that myself and my brother and me were able to climb on them. And we totally did. I have pictures. But when we went, it was raining. So we all had our umbrellas and jackets on and all that. But it was really fun because there was no one else there. We got to climb on them. And there weren't any signs that said you couldn't. So, I mean, if there were, we wouldn't have. We're not, we're not bad tourists. I know most people hate tourists, but there are some that, are respectful. But, if there aren't any signs that say no, who cares, right? Because whatever, we're allowed to. And we didn't break anything. I mean, the things were massive. So, yeah, if you haven't been to Stonehenge, Dromebeg is a cool alternative. Granted, you obviously have to be in Europe to see either of those, but, this is a video on Stonehenge, so whatever. I don't know what to talk about. I get a lot of people that ask me what different places I've been to, so I guess I could talk about that now since we're on a video of England. I was born in Germany. I was actually born in a German hospital, not an American one. I was not on base. I was born off base in a German hospital. I was an emergency C-section. My umbilical cord was wrapped around my neck 4 times. Yeah, I was a crazy baby. And I think like 3 months later, I wasn't even 6 months old when I was on my first flight. We flew to Colorado, where I was there for preschool and kindergarten. And I loved it. We had snow. It was great. That's back when we had Gammy, which was my dad's dog back in high school, and Graybeard. It was great. Gammy was a dog, all right, and a medium-sized dog. He was a mutt. And him and Graybeard were best friends. Best friends. And every time Gammy had his food out, he would just sit there and wait for Graybeard to eat however much of his food he wanted. Our cat ate dog food, all right? It was great. Okay, so he passed away before we left, but we still had Graybeard, and we moved to Germany. We were there from first grade until the first half of fourth grade. I didn't finish fourth grade. I was only one semester of it. And Germany was, this time I actually remember my memories of Germany. I don't remember anything from the first time because I was an itty bitty baby. So I really like Germany. I know a lot of people complain about the weather there and in England, but I totally loved it. I mean, you guys have seen how freaking pale I am. The sun does not agree with me. So being in a place where it's cloudy or rainy is right up my alley. But after that, we moved to Spain, and we actually drove. We drove, through Germany, through France, made our way to Spain. And I think we stayed in 3 different hotels. I think it's 3 days. I think that's how many it took us to get there. And I remember the first view I saw of the base. I was just like, oh my gosh, those trees look so cool. I'd never seen a palm tree before. So, it was really cool. And so we were there for the second half of fourth grade until the first half of seventh grade. So I did a lot of growing up there. That's when I started to grow a thicker skin. I started to not care what people said about me, how they treated me. I was like, you know what, whatever. Like, if you're going to be a jerk, you're always going to be a jerk. There's nothing I can do to change that. I have enough confidence in myself to be okay, so whatever. Although things did still really bother me back then, like I'd cry and all that. I don't remember ever crying in school, except for in 6th grade. It was actually our very last day. And the school I went to was very, very small. There was one teacher for kindergarten and first grade, one teacher for 2nd and 3rd, one teacher for 4th and 5th, and then one teacher for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. After that, you either had to take a 2-hour bus ride to go to the high school at Rhoda, or you would go, abroad, there we go, that's the word I was looking for, abroad to a high school in England. And I was only there until 7th grade, so obviously I didn't have to worry about either of those things. But yeah, at the end of 6th grade, the teacher who taught, what was it, 4th and 5th grade, I want to say? Or maybe, it changed right around when I was in 6th and 7th grade. We got different teachers coming in and all that, but I want to say it was 4th and 5th grade. It was the teacher. So we were at the pool. Every single kid got to go to the pool, so long as the parents approved, obviously. And the teachers wanted us all to line up with our classes. I had worn, not slippers, but, like simple slip-on shoes. And all of my grade, the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders were all lined up in the grass and the dirt, and it was kind of muddy because, we were all still wet from the pool. So I stood right next to one of my friends in the class on a little bit of pavement. And it put me next to the 4th and 5th graders. I wasn't, I was clearly talking with the people in my class, not the younger kids. Although I was friends with plenty of them, I'm just saying. But Miss Vega, that was her name. I guess she had counted me as one of her kids, so she thought they were all there. And then when she realized I was not one of her kids, she got really mad at me. She's like, why are you standing over here with my kids? You're supposed to be over there with your class, and blah, 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 blah. I'm missing a student, and I thought I wasn't, and this is really bad. And I was just like, I'm sorry, like, whatever. So I got off the pavement, and, so I stood in the mud, and my teacher at the time, who is actually, honestly, to this day, still one of my favorite teachers of all time. He came over and, I don't know if someone had said something or if he overheard or what, but he told me I had to go and apologize to her. And I was like, I didn't do anything wrong. Like, I wasn't standing with her kids. She's the one who counted someone who clearly isn't in her class as being in her class. She's the one who's not paying attention. But he told me I had to. So I did. And I started bawling as I was apologizing to her because I was so embarrassed. Because I was like, I didn't do anything wrong. She's the friggin' idiot in this situation. Yeah, that's the only time I can really remember crying in school. That was horrible. But, okay, so that was 6th grade. 7th grade, we got a new teacher in, and it was a woman. And the very first day, all right, the very first day of class, she came in and she was like, I hate kids. And we all looked at each other like, is she for real? Like, why is she teaching a class of 7th and 8th graders if she hates kids? Like, we're kids, all right? Like, what is wrong with her? She was just a grade A. Blah. Oh, I was a straight A student until college, all right? Like, I have always taken my education very seriously, and I've always worked very hard to get good grades. It just wasn't as easy in college as it was, in middle school and high school, but I remember I was in the 2nd row, and there were, other 7th graders ahead of me in the 1st row. There was one kid, he had been homeschooled until that year. So I don't know if you guys have met anyone who was high schooled for that long, but their social skills are essentially that of elementary school students. They're not used to being around kids their own age. They act up, they try to get attention from whoever they can. It's not good. But basically, he kept turning around. He was immediately in front of me in the desk. He kept turning around and knocking my water bottle over. And the rule of the school was the first thing you do is put your finger to your lips, essentially saying shh. The second thing you do is ask them to be quiet. And then the third thing you do is then you go to the teacher. Okay, so I did the first two. And the teacher I had, Miss James, I knew she wasn't going to do anything. She has never disciplined any of the 7th graders. She spent all of her time with the 8th graders. She didn't care about the rest of us at all. She had Miss Ortega, the student aide, who actually didn't have a teaching degree, by the way, teaching the 7th graders. So the third time he did it, I was like, Ashton, shut up and turn around. Because he was talking to me, by the way. I don't remember if I said that. Shut up and turn around. And Miss James actually heard this. So she told me to go put my name on the board. And then, or maybe she did it once. And then the second time when I said shut up, I had to go put a check mark by my name and you have detention during lunch. And I was just like, oh, hell nah. Like, this kid is the one causing disruption. And I'm the one getting punished with detention? But I went, and it was the stupidest thing I've ever had to do. I had to start copying the words and their definitions from the dictionary. And the first word was aardvark because it's spelled A-A. So I learned absolutely nothing. It was completely irrelevant to the situation. It was really dumb, but whatever. After I finished like the first 2 pages, she handed me a piece of paper and it was what caused the situation, what did you do wrong, what happened, and what are you going to do in the future? So I wrote, I was like, Ashton wouldn't leave me alone. He kept knocking my water bottle over. I went through the different steps of what I was supposed to do. By the way, right here, my laptop shut down. So you missed all that stitching. I apologize. I did not mean for that to happen, but, there's not much I can do when my laptop restarts. Anyways, so I was saying, the next time it happens, I will immediately go to the teacher and, I'm not even going to do the whole shh, be quiet thing. I'm just immediately going to go to her because I am not going to let myself get in trouble again because I'm doing what the school's telling me to. It's not going to happen. So I handed her the paper and she looked it over and she laughed. And I just looked at her like, oh, hell no. All right, like this is serious to me. I've never had detention. I have never had detention before, and I'm a straight A student. You do not laugh at something like this. So when I got home, I told my parents what was up, and my dad got on his computer immediately and he emailed her. It was like 3 paragraphs long. He was just, he was like, my daughter explained the situation to me. She told me that you did not take this seriously and that you punished only her and not the student who was knocking her water bottle over, disturbing the entire 7th grade class, and bothering my daughter talking to her. Oh, sorry, right here. There was a stitch on the pattern. It's shown diagonally, but on the pattern provided, the picture, it's up and down, and I think it looks better up and down because it doesn't go over a stitch vertically, so it looks weird. Anyways, so he sent her a very angry email where he was really pissed because his straight A student, or his straight A daughter got detention because, another student was bothering her. I got into class the next day. She called me up to her desk at the front, and she couldn't even look me in the eye. But she was like, I can't, do much, but I will have him sit in a different seat. He'll be, away from all of you, but he can't stay there forever. And I was like, okay, but you know what? Like, whatever. You're the one who screwed up, not me. The bookmark is upside down right there, by the way, so don't get mad at me thinking I stitched on the wrong, or I ironed on the wrong side. So that was the first time I got detention. The second time was after we moved to Vegas after 7th grade, or the middle of 7th grade. I was in 8th grade, and a fight broke out. So, everybody was circling around the fight. I had never seen this happening before. Like, I'm sure I'd seen it in movies, but I'd never seen it in real life. And I actually thought it was, a teacher was at a dunking booth or something. Like, everybody wasn't screaming like they do in the movies. They were, laughing and pointing. So I was just like, oh, I want to see. My friend Lizzie was like, no, that's not what's happening. There's a fight going on. So she grabbed my arm. So she's behind me and she's pulling me back. And the dean saw this and thought that I kicked my best friend. Okay, so, I was in front of her, but I kicked her. I bent my knee and kicked backwards. I have no idea what this woman was thinking. Okay, she was insane. And I did later learn that she hated Lizzie. So we both got detention, and the way that detention was done, everyone sat in the cafeteria at their own table and could do whatever the hell they wanted, so long as they didn't talk. So I just sat there and read a book. Most people took a nap. It was the stupidest detention I've ever had. Like, at least the first one, as dumb as it was, it was actually a punishment. Because seriously, who's going to complain about being able to take a nap? Seriously? Really? Really? Who's going to complain about that? No one. But it was so annoying because, the woman was more concerned with 2 girls moving away from the fight than the actual fight itself. Like, oh, sorry about all the bad views or bad angles I've had on this. I was trying to get it, and it was very difficult. In the end, I think I just turned it around and had it face me. I tried this, and then it was really hard to be able to see because I was doing these stitches underneath the previous stitches. So, yeah, like my current lines that I'm doing are going left to right under a previous stitch. So, it's really hard to see when the webcam's right there under my nose. And I'm also holding it. So, it's easier if I have it in a frame because it's stable. When I'm using my hand, it's difficult. Later on, after I move the webcam to face me, you'll see that I wave my hand around a lot because it hurts. But, okay, so that was Vegas. It was, I I was there until the first semester of my freshman year of high school, so ninth grade. Then I was in the shower. There we go, I moved the webcam. And my mom called me out. And I was just like, can I wait? I'm in the shower. She's like, no, get out of here right now. So I did my best to get the shampoo away from my face so I wouldn't be in pain. Wrapped a towel around myself and hopped out. Opened the door and I was like, what? She handed me the phone and I was like, hello? And Dad was like, guess where we're going? And I was like, oh my God, are we going to Japan? And he was like, yes, we're going to Japan. And I just freaked out. I had always wanted to go to Japan. I've obviously been there now, so it's weird to say I still want to because I want to go back. But oh, it was crazy. I got back in the shower and I finished within like 3 minutes. It was crazy. So then, yeah, after the first semester of my freshman year, moved to Japan, and we were there until I graduated high school. Oh, and I never had detention again, I'm happy to say. Although, if I had, it would probably have been someone else's fault yet again. But, I remember during that second detention, the dean sent us to her office where she had, like a secretary or whatever. And the woman pulled up Lizzie's information first. And, Lizzie had been in trouble before. But she looked at mine and she's like, oh, you've never been in trouble before. And I was like, well, I'm not going to tell her about that detention. So I was like, yeah, no, I'm a good student. And honestly, the dean, she said she saw me kick Lizzie, but we're best friends. I mean, I looked at Lizzie and I looked at the woman. I was like, do I look like I just kicked her? Like, are either of us acting like we don't like each other and that one of us attacked the other one? And she's like, oh, well, I still, I have to. I got to give you guys attention. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so stupid. And that was the first time I'd ever been late to a class before. And they wrote us slips and everything, and I brought it in, and it was I went back to my English class and I was so embarrassed. I was just like, like this is so stupid. Like this didn't have to happen because the dean was being a freaking idiot. Ugh. So yeah. That was so friggin' annoying. But, it's always funny to tell my friends because they're always like, oh, Liz, you're a liar. You've never had detention. You're a good student. You're a perfect student. What are you talking about? And I'm like, no, really, I've had detention twice. And I remember it was actually in Vegas that first time when I actually learned about racism. I didn't know what it was. Like, I knew that there were some people who had darker skin than me, and that's all that it was. Okay, like, my first day there, the first time we had an exam where we had to, like, write what our race was, I didn't see white, so I was like, I'm none of these? And they're like, oh, no, you're Caucasian. And I looked at it, and then I looked at the teacher, and I was like, okay. Like, I assumed it was, some kind of Asian form or something, then I was just like, if you think I look Asian, all right, lady. So, I mean, those were the first times I'd heard, the offensive terms for other people and, like, got called cracker and all those kind of things. And honestly, I kind of wish I could go back to the time before I knew all of these words and that, there were prejudices because they shouldn't. It's so stupid that people judge others based on the amount of pigment in someone else's skin. It's dumb. The amount of melanin in your skin. It's so stupid. And it was in Vegas that I got my really good self-confidence and I stopped caring what other people thought and whatever. And then in high school in Japan, I remember telling a lot of my friends that, I was picked on and I was bullied, and they're like, oh yeah, right, blah, 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 blah. Like, you're so confident, no one would ever mess with you. And I'm like, yeah, I'm confident now, like back then, I was a dorky girl, I didn't know how to defend myself, I didn't know, any of these things that I know now. And it was hilarious. So many people don't believe that at one point I was, not self-confident at all. And they also don't believe that I'd never had, or that I had detention before. So, if that gives you guys any indication what kind of person I am. My friends don't believe me when I say negative things about myself from the past. I think I'm about to start talking again. Let's find out. I think that's the end. I'm gonna go find out how long I was stitching for, and then I'll do a quick outro, and then I will do my best to do some narration. Alright, that is the end of Stonehenge Bookmark. I am done. Took me about 4.5 hours to do day 4. I'll probably try and talk about it in my narration, but I am super annoyed with how one corner folded down properly when I stitched on both sides and the other did not. So that's really annoying, but I am happy with how it came out on the front. It looks totally fine. It's even got the cute little tassel on it. Personally, I don't like using fabric bookmarks. I actually like using Post-it notes because, sorry, a lot of times, I prefer to stop reading at the end of a chapter, but more often than not, I get interrupted and I have to stop. And with the Post-it note, I could put it, right on the paragraph I'm on, right on the exact line, and it's really nice. And then, if it gets folded or bent or anything, I don't have to feel bad because it's a stinking Post-it note. I can replace that easily. I bought this at Stonehenge when I was in England. So, this wouldn't be so easy to replace if something happened to it. Before anyone asks, I don't really plan on selling this one. This is one I'd like to keep for myself. I really like it. I might put it on the wall somewhere. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah. Right now the wizard is in the lead. I don't know if I'll start him tomorrow or if I'll actually look at some of my Christmas patterns and see about maybe doing some of those for family members. Yeah, we'll have to see. It depends on how long my narration goes, if I can do that tonight, or if I'll do that tomorrow. But my schedule did change. I'm only working Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday next week. So 10:30 to 2:30, 5:30 to 9:30, 1:30 to 6. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. I hope you guys enjoyed watching me stitch the Stonehenge bookmark. If you haven't yet, go vote in the poll for the next project because the deadline for that is coming up super quickly. Whenever I decide to start working is just when it stops. I don't think there's a way for me to end the poll without deleting it, and I don't want to do that. But yeah, the very first poll where Chinese Phoenix one is still open, but there's no point in voting in it because Chinese Phoenix already won. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. Subscribe, share, like, comment, all the jazz. And Tessa's sleeping, so she can't join me. But Tessa and I will see you in the next video. Oh, really? You just woke up. I don't know if the webcam caught that, but as soon as I went, she went, brrr. Huh, Tess? Huh? My little sleepy kitten? Little dork nork.